Okay, so it's officially 12:01 on my side, so I think we'll go ahead and get started. Uh, Thank you all so much for coming and for being here today. My name is Melissa Myers. I'm a financial advisor here at Infinitas. I go by Mel if we've met. I go by Mel and happy to be here. So we know that everyone is so busy and that time is limited, and the fact that you have decided to spend a little bit of time today with us, we really appreciate that. And so today we are going to cover Social Security. This is such a crucial topic, and it can be a really confusing topic. I still see that we have quite a few people logging on. So I do just want to share with you as people are logging on, welcome. We will be taking questions at the end. So feel free, as I am covering different topics about Social Security, if there's a specific question that you have that is really general, we will be taking questions I will be taking questions at the end. But if you have a specific question for your advisor that you work with and that you have a personal relationship with, we want to make sure that you write down your questions. So when you meet with them at your next review or the next time you talk on the phone, you already have your question ready to go. It is August 30th, if you can believe it. And you might not meet with your advisor for 3 more months. And so in order to help you not forget your questions, we just want to encourage you to write them down. Okay. So thank you all for coming. I'm going to go ahead and jump in and get started. So you all should be able to see my screen. Okay. So to start us off today, I really just want to talk about the history of Social Security so we understand how it started. So with FDR and the New Deal, that is how Social Security was created. And there were some major shifts that were happening within our government and in history. And so if you think about it, at the time, the average life expectancy was under the age of 60. So male, female, doesn't matter. Our life expectancy was much shorter in 1935 when Social Security was signed into law. The first benefit of Social Security was paid in 1937. And so again, the average life expectancy was 60. And if you think about science and the medical advances we have today, we are living in and helping you plan to live into your 90s. So most individuals were not going to collect Social Security like we are fast forwarding to 2023, like we are today. And so the average ratio from a retiree to a worker was 160 to 1. Okay, those numbers look very different today. And the poverty rate for seniors exceeded 50%. So those were some of the prompting factors as to why Social Security was created and when it was originally structured and put into place, where that structure came from. So if you fast forward to today, things look a lot different. And the reason why I wanted to address the history of Social Security in the beginning is because if we fast forward to today, the average life expectancy is totally different. Individuals can outlive their retirement savings, and our worker to retiree ratio is 2.8 to 1. That is drastically different. And so a lot of individuals, when we're sitting down and we're talking about Social Security, the question that they have is Social Security still going to be around? Is it set up to fail? What is going to happen? And so while I don't have a crystal ball, and none of us do here at Infinitas, what I can tell you is that we do know and acknowledge that Social Security is going to have to change, but we also don't see any politician being very successful to campaign and say, I'm going to end Social Security. Can you all agree? I don't think anybody would be voting for them if we did. So what we know is it has to change. And the question I get a lot is, isn't it set up to fail? But we do have two senators from across the aisle who have put together a bipartisan bill that is aiming to increase a term we're going to be talking about today called the full retirement age. They are talking behind the scenes about addressing the overall program of Social Security to change what needs to be changed. Because again, what was put into place and what it looks like today is two very different things. When we are planning for you, we need to plan on what we know today, okay? So yes, individuals, again, when we sit down and we're talking, one of their fears is, well, I heard that Social Security is estimated to be completely out of funds by 2034. Again, it doesn't, the numbers don't look great, and we know that it has to be addressed. We also know that somebody's not going to go out and campaign, or they would not be successful, we could assume, if they went out and campaigned around, I'm going to end Social Security. So we know it's going to exist in some format, but we don't have a crystal ball to say what it's going to look like. So again, when it comes to today and planning for you, we have to go with the facts that we know today. Can we all agree that we have to go on facts and what exists today, and we will adapt and change based on what happens in the future? So as an advisor, I just want to put that hat on and make sure that we're going with what we know today, because a lot of life can happen quickly. So when we think about retirement, there was a philosophy that a lot of individuals, probably your parents used, or that maybe you grew up using, or that you've heard of before. And so it was called the three-legged stool. The three-legged stool of retirement was one, Social Security, pension. If you are a participant on the line and maybe younger, just curious about Social Security, you might not have heard this term before. If you are thinking about retirement, your parent or yourself, you might have a pension. And so pensions are still part of the planning that we do today. And then the third leg is savings and investments. And so really you have this three-legged stool that was the philosophy for a lot of individuals, again, probably your parents, or for maybe some of you that are over the age of 65. For planning for individuals who are younger, a pension really might not be part of your picture because they're really not around. There are very, very few companies that have pensions that they're offering. So that leaves us with Social Security and our savings and investments. So in 2023, the average Social Security payment for a retired couple right now is close to $3,000 a month. Okay, so $2,972 is the actual average estimate, and for a retired worker, we're around $1,800. So for most of us, Social Security is a part of our plan, but not all of our plan. And so we just want to talk to you about how do we leverage Social Security? When should I be claiming Social Security is a lot of the times the question that we're getting, or that you might have top of mind. So really what we're going to go through is we're going to talk about timing of Social Security. We're going to talk about your work and your work history, taxes and Social Security, and some things we think that you should be aware of. Okay, so the Social Security question that I get asked pretty often is, when should I file for benefits? 70%. How do I maximize my benefit? How much will my spouse receive? Is Social Security income taxable? So I don't know if any of you have questions, these questions, but our goal today is to address them. So let's talk about a key term that you need to learn. If you don't learn anything else from this presentation, I want to make sure that you walk away fully understanding your full retirement age, because it really is a leading factor that will help you and us as your advisor in guiding you as to when should I take Social Security. So your full retirement age is going to be displayed on your Social Security statement. Your Social Security statement is a very valuable resource. If you don't have a Social Security statement, you want to go to ssa.gov. So ssa.gov. So it stands for Social Security Administration.gov. And that on your statement will tell you your specific full retirement age. It's also known as FRA. So your full retirement age is dependent upon your birth year. So if you were born after 1955, you can see here in the column on the screen what your full retirement age is. And the reason why that's super important is because your full retirement age, from a Social Security standpoint, you have a full benefit that you are owed. So you have paid into the system throughout your working years, and you can claim a full benefit. Okay, it is the term that Social Security office uses is the word benefit. Your full benefit is based on your full retirement age, based on your birth year. If you were to choose to take your full retirement early or later, there are certain rules that the Social Security Administration has in place that you need to make sure you're aware of and can follow. So let's jump into that. So if you were to take, or if you're like, hey, I'm really thinking about maybe stepping away and working part-time at age 63, and your full retirement age is not until 66 and a half or 67. Okay, I'm going to use the example of 67. So if your full retirement age is 67 and your full benefit amount would be $1,000 in this example, then if you were to take it early, let's say at that age 63, your reduced benefit, your benefit is then reduced, and it goes to $750 in this example. So if you were to wait until your full retirement age, then you would receive $750. If you were to delay your benefit, right? So you get a reduced benefit if you take it early. You get what you get if you take it at your full retirement age. And then you're rewarded, you could say, if you take a delayed option in your Social Security, and the delayed age is age 70. You can wait and say, hey, I don't really need this until age 75, but they're not going to reward you, or you're not going to gain anything from taking that delayed amount. Okay, I've actually had that question, so I wanted to make sure I covered it. If I wait beyond 70, is there any benefit to me? Unfortunately, there's not. The delayed age, the max delayed age is age 70. So when you're thinking about Social Security and when to take it, I really want to talk about kind of shifting that question of when should I take Social Security? And I want to shift it to, what do you need in retirement? When you decide to stop working, when is that going to be? And what do you need? And that really will drive the answer around when you should take, when does it make sense to take Social Security? And so again, I'm going to go back to that statement for you to understand what your options are and understanding that full retirement age. So how do we come up with these numbers? Where on your statement are these numbers even coming from? That really leads us to the topic of work, your work history. Okay, so if you are the numbers that are on your statement are accumulation of your work history and is an average. And so it will tell you based on your options of between 62 and 70 what those amount would be. Now we talked about full retirement age. If you choose to work, you're like, hey, I think I'm going to continue working part-time, then we need to really understand when your full retirement age is, because if you take an early benefit, if you claim Social Security prior to your full retirement age, then there are some rules that we need to make sure you understand. Okay, so if you take it before your full retirement age, your benefit is reduced by $1 for every $2 above. I say 21,000 because it's a nice safe number, but technically it's 21,240. But if you plan on still working in retirement, hey, I want to step away from my current job that I've been at for years, or I'm just really ready for a change. And with technology today, right, we have individuals who can work from the beach. We can work from remotely. You might have grandkids that you're wanting to play with or entertain or go fishing every day. We have a variety of clients that do different things. And so whatever that is for you, you might be thinking, man, it would be really nice to have some income, additional income. But if you take that prior to your full retirement age, then your benefit would be reduced if you earned more part-time or if you chose to continue working if it was above that $21,240. Now, if you choose to wait until your full retirement age and then take your benefit, so you're receiving the benefit at the full amount, then your earned income, okay, can be at $56,520. If you wait till after your full retirement age, okay, so if you filed just before your full retirement age or right at that, there's that sweet spot. So you're going to want to sit down with your advisor and we're going to want to help you understand this. And that's why your statement is so important because it tells you right when that sweet spot is. But if you wait till after your full retirement age, okay, so 67 and 1 month, if that happens to be yours, then there's no limit on earnings. So again, I'm going to go back to the question of what is it that you need in retirement, because that's really going to drive the when should I file for Social Security, okay? So again, if you have a question around what I just unpacked, because we're going to go through another example here in a moment, I want you to write down your question for your advisor, because again, you might not meet with them for a little while and you might have a question that's specific to you, which would be really hard for me to answer on this call. So I want you to write down any questions that you have that are specific to you so you can ask your advisor around what is that. Okay, so really just how will my working impact my benefit? And so again, we want to stay in that sweet spot. So if you plan on working, and let's say in this scenario, you make $45,000, but that annual limit, if you took an early benefit, is $21,000, you have gone over, okay, we've gone over the limit by $23,000. And so therefore, you're going to have a significantly reduced benefit. And in your planning without meeting with your advisor, if you're just planning and you're talking to your neighbor, your benefit might not be what you thought it was going to be. So you could be in a scenario, and we've seen this happen, where, hey, I thought my Social Security benefit was going to be $15,600, but really, that's not what I'm getting. I don't understand why. Well, it very well could be because you have your neighbor or whomever who was telling you about this chose to take it prior to that full retirement age. So I know I've said that several times, but it's just such a key factor in your Social Security benefit that we want to make sure you feel really comfortable about looking at your statement and what that term means to you, because it really drives so many of the rules around what you'll receive and what income you can have during retirement. Okay. So let's say you have decided to fully retire and you don't want to claim. You're like, hey, I really don't need this. I really just don't need the Social Security benefit, but I wanted to claim it anyways. Well, you have the option to do that, but you don't have to, and you need to make sure that you understand the reduction in the benefit or the monthly amount you would receive if you were to continue working, if you went ahead and decided to take it, because why not, right? Everybody likes some extra play money or some fun money, or maybe that's your travel money. But your reduced benefit by taking it early could not be what you think it's going to be, because over half of it was reduced because we didn't know the rules, okay? So I just want to recap them really quickly. If you take your benefit early and you earn over that $21,000, okay, it's going to be reduced. If you take it at your full retirement age, not after your full retirement age, okay, then our number we need to keep in mind, maybe it's that retirement year that you plan on retiring. Does it make sense to claim it in December or just wait till January? There are some scenarios where I've seen that if somebody would have just waited until January 1st instead of taking it on their retirement date of December 15th, by just having a little bit of that planning and that conversation, we were able to say, whoa, you earned this year $75,000. And if you claim this, it's really going to hurt you. So we need to wait. Don't turn it on in December. We need to wait to turn it on in January. And so just some organized planning can really maximize your benefits. Okay. So let's talk about taxes and Social Security, or taxes and Social Security. This is a question that I get quite a bit. So is my Social Security taxable? There's a saying that I've heard over and over again, I'm sure you've heard it too, that there are two things that are inevitable in our lifetime, which is death and taxes. So your benefit may be taxable. It just depends on your combined income or your income if you are a single income household, okay? So when you are filing, you want to make sure that you tell your accountant that you're filing because there are income thresholds. So let's talk about that. So the first thing that your accountant, or if you're filing your taxes, we're going to look at your modified adjusted gross income, AKA, because that sounds fancy, we're going to look at your gross income, okay? And then your accountant can help you understand what is that modified adjusted gross income, but how much money is coming into your household? That's what we're looking at. And so we're going to be looking at your Social Security benefits, half of the benefit amount. Okay, and then if you have other income in the household besides yourself, let's say you're married, there's a combined income that Uncle Sam is going to be looking at. Okay, so will my Social Security be taxed? The short answer is yes, on some level, your Social Security benefit is taxed. To what degree is it taxed? Typically, most of us are earning more than 25,000. Okay. So if a combined income, if you are earning less than 25,000 and you're filing as an individual, okay, then you're not going to be taxed on any type of Social Security. That's zero. Most of our clients do not fall into that category. And so that's why I say the short answer is you're going to be taxed at some level. So if you are married filing jointly, you're going to be taxed up to 50% between that 32,000 and 44,000. Okay, that's your window. You go over that, okay, $44,001. We got to make sure we throw that $1 in there. You're going to be taxed up to 85%. So again, this is where it's helpful to truly understand what am I being taxed, how much of tax is going to impact my retirement planning, my benefit, because it's not just Social Security that we have as income oftentimes, right? Most of you who are clients, we have our own personal savings, we have our investment accounts. And so we need to understand what other sources of income do we have? How much are we taking that is taxable income to us? And what does that mean from Social Security and taxes overall? Okay. So again, death and taxes are inevitable. Understanding how we're going to be taxed, not just from Social Security, but in general, is a great educational conversation to have and something us as advisors are always making sure we're helping you be mindful of. So if your question is, well, how do I specifically maximize taxes with my Social Security in retirement? Some ways to reduce taxes or taxable income in retirement would be a Roth IRA, or if you are in a 401k plan or any type of retirement plan within your employer, from your employer, and you have a Roth option, that is a way to be saving today. You're paying the taxes on it today. And then when you go to take out that income, you're not paying taxes on it. Okay. So that is going to help in Social Security planning. So what can I be doing today to maximize my future taxable amount in my retirement years? Just in general, Roth would be a great option to consider saving into if it's an option for you. So Roth 401k, it doesn't matter how much you're making. That's also a common question that we receive is, well, I make too much money to save into a Roth. Well, not if your employer is offering a Roth 401k. It's a fabulous benefit. So you could be saving into a Roth and maybe you didn't know that. So other ways to reduce that taxable amount would really be just looking at a Roth IRA if you can save into that or into a Roth 401k. Okay. But to answer the question, just to wrap it up, how do I know if I'm going to be taxed on my Social Security whenever I go to claim? It is going to be based on the IRS rules of how much your adjusted gross income, your modified adjusted gross income is for your household. If you're an individual or if you're filing jointly. So let's just talk about some awareness, some things that I think is important for all of us to understand, questions that we get from individuals. So if the benefit that you're entitled to is your own benefit, okay? If you are married or were married for more than 10 years and you are now divorced, you are entitled to a spousal benefit. So your benefit, a spousal benefit, and then if your spouse dies, you are entitled to a survivor benefit, okay? There is a difference between a survivor benefit and a one-time benefit when your spouse passes away. It is a whopping $250 that you will receive. I share that because that's often a question that I get is like, hey, I went to the Social Security office as we're helping our clients through a spouse who has passed, and they're like, I'm getting this random check for $250. I don't know why it's $250. We did not make the rules, but somewhere in the legislation, it was put into writing that you would receive a one-time benefit of $250. So you might receive that, but just don't confuse that with a survivor benefit if your spouse, were to pass away and it made more sense for you to choose. So again, the benefits we're entitled to is your own benefit if you have a work history. It's an important factor. If you have worked and you have a work history, you're entitled to your own benefit. For a lot of parents who have stayed at home throughout their whole lives, or just were not called to work a traditional job and maybe did a lot of volunteer, if your spouse claims their benefit, you have entitled to a spousal benefit. And then again, whichever makes sense when a spouse passes away, do you keep your own benefit or do you claim your spouse's benefit? We can help walk you through that. So married individuals who can claim their benefit based on, like I said, your own earnings, okay, your own work history, or your spouse's earnings. We helped a couple recently. It didn't make sense for them to claim until age 70. That was, what do you need in retirement? They could leverage their income sources. They went ahead and retired at 65. But based on what they had saved in their personal savings, they could wait to claim Social Security until age 70, lived off of some of those personal savings from their investments, and then waited until age 70 so they could maximize their Social Security benefit for both their individual record and then their spouse was able to claim off of their record. So a spouse earnings record, so when you're claiming on your spouse, okay, so let's say in this scenario, the couple that I just shared with you, the husband had been the primary worker and had a higher earnings record. And so they waited till age 70. So then the wife chose to also wait until age 70, and then she received 50% of the spouse's Social Security. If you, a different client that we recently helped, the wife needed to leave the workforce early for some medical and some health issues, but it wasn't enough to claim disability. And so the wife decided to stop working. The husband continued to work. We had decided the husband was going to claim at age 70 because that's what made sense for them. But the wife went ahead and claimed Social Security early, prior to her full retirement age. And so she had a reduced benefit. So when you claim Social Security, even on your spouse, okay, so your spouse waits, let's say, until age 70. In this scenario, that's what they did. The wife still had a reduced benefit. So you're entitled to 50% of your spouse, but if you claim early, your benefit will also be reduced. And that can be confusing. And so when it comes to Social Security planning, we just encourage, again, that statement is gold. We have to have that statement. And sometimes it's just a matter of going into the Social Security office and tracking down somebody who can help us understand, okay, if I took the reduced benefit or I took my benefit at age 62 and a half, but I'm gonna switch at age 70 to my spouse, what does that look like? That's an individual question specific to your scenario. Your statements are going to help you answer those questions. And then if needed, we can reach out for further clarification. So that can be a pretty complex or confusing scenario to wrap around in your mind. So again, we're here to help guide you through this and make sure you understand. Okay. So I just walked you through a spousal benefit versus your own benefit, but here I just have Angela and John, right? So trying to decide, Angela and John were trying to decide what made the most sense for them. Both of them took benefits at their FRA, full retirement age, Mel's favorite word of the day. And so Angela was entitled to $900. Her own benefit was $900. And half of John's benefit is $2,800. Half of John's benefit would be, right, $1,400. So did it make sense for Angela to claim her own benefit or to claim John's benefit? So this scenario really tees up for maybe at your full retirement age, maybe you're like Angela, hey, I would love to have an extra, I'm not going to be working anymore. I'm going to retire and I'm not going to be having any more income at my full retirement age. Let's say that full retirement age is 66 and a half. So at 66 and a half, we put in that amazing retirement notice at our employer and we have our retirement party. We are, it's just after that full retirement age and we're going to claim our own benefit, but maybe your spouse, John, he's going to keep working or he's going to stop working too, but he's not going to claim his benefit until later. So this is where if your spouse is older than you, younger than you, you can kind of put yourself in Angela and John's situation and decide, do I want to go ahead and claim my own benefit? And does that make sense for our household? Or do I want to wait? Okay. So John could have $2,800. Angela's like, hey, I'd rather have $1,400 instead of $900. I could travel more, right? I could do a whole lot more with $1,400 versus $900. Maybe patience in this scenario makes a little bit more sense. Okay. So again, for the two of you, having that statement is going to help you understand what makes the most sense for you. And it goes back to that question of what do you need in retirement? What income sources do you have to help you decide when do I file for Social Security? So the questions that we want you to ask yourself, or that we're going to ask you when you sit down to meet with us, is when do I plan to stop working? Well, that's a $1 million question, Mel. I have no idea. We know that that's a loaded question for a lot of our clients. Some of you, this is just a few years away. For some of you, this is 10 years away. For some of you, it's within the next 12 months. And so when do you plan on stopping working? Taking a look at your Social Security statement, understanding your full retirement age, understanding some of these income limits might drive you to decide, oh, does this make sense? It might actually pause what you have currently planned. And so we just invite you to invite us into this conversation to help you answer the question, am I maximizing my Social Security benefit or am I planning, do I understand all of my options? If you don't feel confident that you understand all of your options, that's really where we're here to be a guide for you. So when do I plan to stop working? Do I need this extra income? Some of you have been amazing savers and, it's fun to jump into the conversation with friends and family to say, I'm going to go ahead and claim this benefit. A client of mine did that, like, oh, we're concerned it's not going to be there, right? Which is why I wanted to address in the beginning, what does Social Security look like? What is the future of Social Security? Because you could be thinking, man, I want to make sure I claim my benefit. I have paid into this thing. Well, do you need the money? And are there any other consequences or factors that you haven't considered? We want to make sure that you're aware of this information and that you think about, do I need this extra income, and does it really make sense for me and my family? Will I have to pay taxes on my income? What is my household income? Okay. And then how long do I plan to live? There is some major aha moments when you think about, man, if I go ahead and take my benefit early, that reduced benefit of $900 versus waiting until my full retirement age of $1,600, there's a difference there. And so if you were to wait just a few more years until your full retirement age, and your family has a family history of living into their late 80s and 90s, that's a long time to receive your benefit. So does it make sense for you and your family history to wait? We also understand that life happens. Unplanned sickness and disease can wreak havoc in our lives, and you might really need to take this. And if that's your situation, that's okay too. We're really just here to be a guide to make sure you understand your options and what makes sense for you. Okay. So, next steps for you. If you are really thinking about your retirement years, wanting to maximize Social Security, what are your next steps? It would be to download your Social Security statement from ssa.gov if you have not done so already. You're going to want to create an account. It does take, I'd say, around 15 minutes because you do have to answer some security questions. There is some two-factor authentication that is required in there. So you're just going to go in the upper right-hand corner. You can create new account or sign in if you've already done this. It is not too early to register for an account, okay? I have an account, probably because I talk about this all the time and I want to be able to navigate the Social Security website, but I'm about to celebrate my 37th birthday and I have a Social Security account. So it is not too early to register for an account. The next thing that you're really going to need to know, or that we're going to ask you about, if you want to sit down with your advisor is going to say, what is your income need in retirement? How much do we need? And I really like to make sure that we bucket this in two categories. What do you need in retirement, right? Keeping the lights on, paying our insurance premiums, making sure we have the basics. That is one category. What do we need? What do we have to have in retirement? What is that monthly or yearly amount? And then the second part to that monthly need is the fun, the food, the travel. What do we want to do? Making sure that we sit down and understand what you need and want in retirement is the second thing we're going to need from you or ask from you. The third thing is to meet with your financial advisor that you have a relationship with here at Infinitas. And we're also going to make sure once we talk to you and kind of understand your options, we're going to go back to that tax question if needed to really understand what does taxes look like in retirement. So we will have all components that we'll be asking you for and talking to you about. So again, I just want to encourage you. You're probably like, man, I have so many questions that I'd love to ask. If your question is general, that really would apply to the whole group, we want you to ask questions. There are some frequently asked questions that we get from time to time, and we're happy to answer anything. But if it's a question specific to you, we really want to have you write it down and reach out to your advisor, because we're here to be your guide and advocate for you to make the best financial decisions that make the most sense for you. So with that, I would like to open it up to questions. And Kimberly, I don't know if you can help me navigate opening up, or if anybody wants to raise their hand.
Yeah, so I've just given everyone permission to unmute. So there's a little button at the top that says mic. You can click that and unmute and ask your question.
Okay, Keith has a question. So Keith, if you want to unmute And go ahead.
I'd like to know what is actually qualified as earned income. Is that just wages for work, or is that like passive income too?
So it's going to be wages worked is going to be your income. Your modified adjusted gross income is really what, when you're looking at your tax return, okay? So on that passive income, because there's different forms of passive income. So the best way that I can answer this question is if you're currently receiving that passive income, go to your last year's tax return and see what if it was calculated in your modified adjusted gross income. Otherwise, I would default that specific question for what passive income you're plan on having to your tax professional, because I just don't want to give you the misguided advice. But really, it's, if you have a retirement IRA, right? So if you have a 401k right now through your employer, that is any money that you withdraw is going to be income, okay? Or if you're working, earned income. Does that help?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, Matthew, if you want to go ahead and ask your question.
Sure. I don't know that this is a common situation. I was just thinking about it right before this webinar. Is there ever a situation where somebody claims Social Security, whether they're at full retirement age or not, maybe because they need to, they find their situation changes, they no longer need to? Can you not claim Social Security? Can you claim it at one point and then stop claiming it and then reclaim it later? Or is it kind of once the toothpaste is out of the tube, you're claiming it type situation?
I love that analogy. And I've not heard that. So there is a small window of time where you can actually retract your benefit. And so what that process looks like is typically some individuals who feel comfortable will go online and you can file right there through ssa.gov. And let's say you file for your benefit, and then like you said, life changes and you're like, whoa, how do I pause the train from leaving the train station? You have, I believe it's a 12-month window, like legit 365 days. If you go a day past it, that window closes. You have to return all of the benefits that were paid plus interest, right? So when they were writing the laws around Social Security, they made sure to include that plus interest. So if, let's say you were receiving for 3 months, you received $2,000 a month, you would pay back that $2,000 a month, so $6,000 plus a little bit of interest. I don't have that interest number off the top of my head. But yes, you could retract it. It is a bit of a process. There's a lot of trips to the Social Security local office and some phone appointments with the office, but it absolutely can be done. So if you or anyone you know is in that situation, you do have the right or the ability.
Thanks for humoring that question.
You're welcome. Okay, we had another individual raise their hand, but it's not showing on my screen anymore. Does anyone else have a question? Oh, okay, Joe, if you want to go ahead with your question. Joe, you would need to unmute your mic and you can go ahead and ask your question. Go over here. Okay, Joe, oh, nope. Joe, I thought I allowed your mic. You're still on mute if you're trying to ask your question.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Oh, finally. I just wanted to clarify about being a divorced person who wants to file for Social Security early. That would be me. And,
Okay.
but what I understand you to say is that until my ex-husband decides he's going to file, I can't cabbage onto his.
That's actually not true. So the rules around filing, so I have it here in front of me. So, if you are divorced, you can claim on your ex-spouse's work record.
Mhm.
You have, the rule is you have to be married for at least 10 years. Okay. You do
Okay.
have to wait until you're at least age 62. You
Mhm.
do not have to wait for them to file. So
Okay.
and it does not mess with your ex-spouse's work record. It does not mess with their claiming ability. If your ex-spouse is remarried, it does not affect them.
Right.
So what does matter is if you get remarried, then you are no longer eligible for your ex-spouse's benefit.
Okay.
Okay. And that would be for specific next steps for you. I would definitely work with your advisor, and then a phone call or a trip to your local Social Security office would be able to, they'd probably schedule an appointment for somebody to call you to walk you through what that would look like for you. And
Okay.
then understanding if you claimed your ex-spouse's work record, if that does apply to you, then claiming your own record, talking to your advisor about what that would look like for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. My pleasure. I love that you all are not being shy, so keep the questions coming. Okay, so you can raise your hand or unmute and feel free to ask.
I'm back.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Okay, so if I do take Social Security early and I put it into a Roth, did you say that is taxable upon entering the Roth? And then when I take it out, it's not?
So the Roth in general, you pay taxes today on any money, right? So if you were to receive a Social Security benefit, if you're paying taxes, in the slides, I showed the amount. So I believe if you're earning over 25,000, you're going to pay some tax on that benefit. If technically you're earning underneath 25,000, then you would pay zero on that Social
Higher.
Security benefit. Okay, so you would go ahead and you'd receive that benefit, and then it hits your checking, your savings account. If you wanted to
Right.
save into a Roth, that money would grow tax free, and you would receive that after 5 years. So that would be the only rule I'd want to make sure you would not. The Roth rule is after 5 years. So you would save that money, let's say in 2023. So in 2028, after, let's call it 2029, January 2029, you could then pull that money tax-free from that growth.
Oh.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, not taxed upon putting it in the IRA.
Yeah, the concept is after tax dollars, because typically, right, you get paid from an employer, it's taxed, and then it goes into your bank account, right?
Right. Okay. Makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Did we have somebody named Mark who wanted to ask a question? No? Okay. So one of the other things that, just going over my notes as we wrap up here, the other factor that we want to make sure that we're talking about, or that's a common conversation that we're having when we are helping our clients plan, is understanding your Medicare premiums. So when you receive Social Security, when you turn 65, you absolutely, whether you're still working or not, need to acknowledge that window of 65. And so your Medicare cost or premiums are going to come out, and then Social Security is going to go to you. That comes up a lot when we're doing employee education or when somebody receives their check for the first time, they're like, hey, I thought I was going to receive $2,200 a month, and they only see $1,900 in their bank account. Well, that could be if you're having any withholding, you fill out the form and you want, funds withheld. And then it's also going to factor in your Medicare, the Medicare premium. Okay. So we do a lot of planning around that too. So any questions specific to you, please reach out to your advisor. Social Security is a complex topic, and so I also just want to say sharing is caring. If you have a coworker, friend, family member, and they don't have a trusted advisor who is talking to them about Social Security or helping them understand their options, we would love for you just to make an introduction and introduce us, because this can be a complex topic. If you have an employer who is not offering employee education, talking about Social Security, talking about retirement planning, introduce us to your HR professional. If you are an HR professional, Infinitas as a firm is here to help. And we were really, really passionate about education for participants, for business owners, and for all of our individual clients. We want to make sure that we're giving you guidance in general, but then we're turning around and making these topics specific to you as we're meeting with you. So thank you all so much for joining our Infinitalks today. On behalf of the whole firm, we want to say thank you, and we hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day.